They loved each other. Everything seemed perfect. But one financial decision changed everything. This is the story of Emily and Michael, and it could be the story of any of us. They met in a cafe. She was reading a book on financial education. He stumbled into her table. It was love at first sight. They had similar tastes, similar values, and a future that seemed bright and clear. Michael was an engineer with a good salary. Emily was a teacher with a more modest income. For the first 2 years, things were easy. They split expenses. He paid a bit more, and a happy, unspoken balance was found. Then they decided to move in together, and that's when the first cracks began to show. Emily, who grew up with financial worries, planned every penny. She had spreadsheets, savings goals, and a deep-seated fear of debt. Michael came from a family where money was never an issue. He enjoyed life, bought what he wanted, and didn't stress about the future. At first, this seemed like a good balance. He helped her relax. She helped him organize. But then came the sofa. Michael fell in love with a luxurious Italian leather sofa that cost 3 times Emily's monthly salary. He wanted to buy it on credit. Emily was horrified. They argued for hours. Tears were shed. Voices were raised. They compromised on a cheaper sofa, but a silent resentment began to fester. Michael felt he was giving up something he could afford. Emily started to see Michael's spending habits in a new light. The expensive daily lunches, the annual phone upgrades, the pricey drinks at bars. The small things started to feel big. 6 months later, the real test arrived. Michael's uncle offered him a once-in-a-lifetime investment opportunity in a tech startup. It promised huge returns, but the buy-in was massive. It would take all of Michael's savings, plus a bank loan. He was ecstatic. This was his chance to build real wealth. When he told Emily, he expected her to share his excitement. Instead, she was deeply worried. She researched the risks, pointed out that most startups fail, and showed him how putting all their eggs in one high-risk basket was a terrible idea. She begged him to reconsider, to invest a smaller amount, to consult a professional. Michael didn't listen. He felt she was being too conservative, that she was afraid of success. He accused her of trying to control him, to keep him small. It felt like she didn't trust his judgment. He saw her fears as a weakness holding him back. And so, on a rainy Tuesday, Michael signed the papers. He took the loan and invested everything. That night, he came home and told Emily what he'd done. The color drained from her face. After a long, heavy silence, she said, "You don't trust me. I showed you the risks. I begged you. It's like my concerns, like I don't matter." Michael argued it was his money, his decision. Technically, he was right. But a crucial line had been crossed. The apartment that was once filled with laughter fell silent. Emily started working overtime, building her own secret emergency fund. She no longer trusted Michael to be her safety net. Michael, desperate to prove her wrong, obsessed over the startup. Every small win was a text to her, a silent, "I told you so," but she couldn't share his joy. All she saw was a man who had chosen a gamble over their partnership. What they were learning the hard way is that fights about money are never just about money. They're about trust, values, fears, and dreams. For Emily, saving meant security. For Michael, investing meant ambition. Neither was wrong, but they couldn't find a middle ground. 6 months later, the startup began to crumble. It was burning through cash. A bigger competitor emerged. The company needed more money, or it would fold. Michael was wiped out. He had nothing left to give. When he got home that night and confessed everything to Emily, she didn't say, "I told you so." She just hugged him as he cried. But her anger was replaced by a deep sadness for what they had lost. In the aftermath, Michael changed. He cut his spending, took on freelance work, and started packing his own lunch. They even tried couples therapy, which helped them understand that their different views on money came from their different upbringings. They started talking more, creating a shared budget. It seemed like they were rebuilding, but something was broken. Emily could never forget that he had completely ignored her. What if the next big decision was about a child or a house? Would he just do what he wanted again? For Michael, he felt constantly judged. He started hiding small purchases just to avoid her disapproval, which only created more distrust. A year after the investment, they sat on their balcony in silence. Emily finally asked, "Are you happy?" He wasn't. Neither was she. They had become roommates, afraid to have real conversations. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," Michael said, with tears in his eyes. "We were so good together." "We were," Emily agreed, "but that decision wasn't just about money. It was you telling me my voice didn't matter." And I could never forget that. 2 months later, Emily moved out. Their friends were shocked. They looked like the perfect couple. But a relationship needs more than just love. It needs aligned values, and most importantly, mutual trust. The tragedy of Emily and Michael isn't that they disagreed about money. It's that they allowed that disagreement to expose a fatal crack in their trust. They could have had these tough conversations earlier, before moving in. They could have set ground rules for big purchases. They could have sought professional advice before resentment took root. Their story is a powerful reminder that money is the ultimate test of a partnership. It's not about the dollars and cents. It's about whether you see your partner as an equal teammate on the journey of life. They loved each other, but they didn't trust each other's vision for the future. And in the end, that was enough to tear them apart. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more content that explores the real challenges of life and relationships.